Hello guys, so welcome back to the SQL section of data engineering with Animesh, and we are going to solve our 13th question in the SQL series. So the question is gameplay analysis fourth. So I did a bit of cheating. I went to the question beforehand only because I thought this is a confusing one, but no, it is kind of very simple. Only again you have to form a table from the given table to get to your answer. So let us quickly go through the our table. So there's only one table which is an activity table. It has four columns: player ID, device ID, event date, and the number of games played. So player ID and event date is the primary key. This table shows the activity of players of some games. Each row is a record of a player who logged in and played a number of games before logging out on some day using some device. Okay. Write a solution to report the fraction of players that logged in again on the day after the day they first logged in, rounded to two decimal places. In other words, you need to count the number of players that logged in for at least two consecutive days starting from their first login date, and then divide that number by the total number of players. Very simple. Again, a kind of fraction or percentage situation, a fraction situation. Okay. Basically, you have to say the first login date for every player ID, and if the player have logged in just the consecutive day from the first event date or the first login date. Means suppose if I log in on first of this month, and so if I log in on second of this month, means this month is March. So if I'm logging on first of March and if I'm logging on second of March, so that should be considered. Suppose if I'm logging on 1st of March and then on 7th of March, cross. That has not to be considered and it goes as 0. So I hope you have understood the question, and then you have to calculate the fraction, which you have to divide with the total number of players. Okay, so now see the table. Player ID, device ID, event date, and games played. Now, one thing is one thing that is confusing, that how will you see or how will you calculate the difference between the given event dates? First thing you will say, I will directly subtract. But again, you have to do for each player ID. And if you want to subtract this row with this row for a particular column, it is very difficult, or it will make your query complex. So again, what I will do is, why not I form another column here, somewhere here, and somehow make this date available here, or either make the first date available in the in this row. So likewise, I can simply calculate the difference between the columns. Let me tell you what I'm trying to say. I'm telling, if suppose if I have two call, I can make my table as this. Suppose I have event date and previous event date, something like this. And suppose if it is 3-1 here, so the previous event date for this would be null because there is no events before this. So the previous event date for this would be null. Now for 3-2, the previous event date would be 3-1. And now you can easily subtract, means event date minus previous event date is equals to 1. Then it is consecutive, and that you have to add. Okay. So I hope you have understood how we are going to manipulate the data as per our requirement. So to do this, you have to use another window function, which is lag, and it would be as with a similar syntax as we have used for rank in our just last video. Okay, so first I will select all the columns that I want. I would be needing the player ID. Let us, we don't need device ID, but no problem. I will take it as of now because I believe if might be required, then we don't have to come and change. And then event date we want. Now lag means one value before, and if any row does not have a previous value, it gives null. So any value minus null would not be a 1 or not be any number that you would be searching in a case statement. So r that problem is sorted. So lag event date, by default it takes the just previous row, but if you want, you can give 2 3 to take the how many before rows you want. But here by default it takes one only, so I would not give any second parameter. You can read about it on W3 School or Geeks for Geeks, this how lag works, and so that you would be in a better state to understand this problem. So lag of event date, then again over. So where we have to create the partition on every player ID, right? Because for every player you have to see uh, if they have logged in on every consecutive day or not. So over partition by player ID, and then you will what you will do, order by event date. Though it is already ordered, but I wanted to give you the complete syntax, and I will have to give it a name as previous date. Okay, and this is from activity table. Now I will delete this and run this query as of now to see if it works or not, and then we will move towards the main query. So okay, you can see now for this event date we have got 2631 as the previous date. This doesn't have any previous value, so it will give null. This 25 would not have, if you see, would not have any previous value, so again null. 3 to no, and this will give the previous value for a particular partition that we've created. Okay, now quickly give this complete table an alias to be used in our final section. Let's give it an A, any alias you can give. Now okay, from is a keyword, so select sum. Now in case when A dot event date minus, generally when you subtract on a date column it gives you the result in the number of days, sorry. So that capability I'm using directly to get to my answer. So I will my minus A dot previous date is equals to 1, then 1 else 0 end. Okay, so whenever the difference between the event date and the previous date that we have calculated is equals to 1, 1 means 1 day, then we have to keep on adding 1, else we have to keep on adding 0. So it would give me the number of consecutive day logins for every player ID, and then we have to divide it within the number of players. So count of, I will use again the player ID from my subquery. So A dot distinct. Okay, so you have to count distinct because see the player ID is repeating, right? But you have to take into account only 3 players. So distinct A dot player and then ID. Now one more thing, you have to round it by 2 decimal places. So just get a round statement and just make it 2, so it handles still 2 decimal places, which is very basic. And now I will run this query uh, as fraction. Okay, the column name. Done. Run. Okay, see the answer is correct. Okay, so lag works in a very similar way as other window function like rank works. Syntax is same, only the functionality is lag takes into account the previous value for a particular partition. So for suppose one partition will be created for one player ID. So for the it takes into account the previous value in every partition. So for 301 there would be no previous value, so it will give null. For 2632 the previous value in the partition would be 2631. So it will give the 2631 as the previous value. And similarly I have created this for every partition, and when I have got two columns in just next to each other, it is very easy to subtract because row subtraction is difficult, but when you have to subtract column wise it becomes easy in SQL. So that is how I have created my table and worked on that table to get to the final result. Okay, so I hope you would have understood this question. If I would urge you to practice it without watching this video. Just go through the question. Uh, Again, try to form your query, which might be different from me as well, but the answer should come. And then you can match it with my query or see the result. And if there's something wrong, you can copy this query and then learn what functionalities that we have used. Go and read about the window function, mainly count, row number, lag, and lead. These are the four window functions that will be used in the upcoming videos as well. And so, yes, so keep learning, keep practicing, and I will see you in my next video. Till then, goodbye.